Well, we all remember being a teenager in love. The first crush,
Lucky you.
The first rejection, the first heartbreak.
You miss me?
You can call or text me.
I'm kind of hooked up with this girl.
Whatever.
My baby.
I'm not a baby anymore. This was so not a perfect day.
But do we take teen love seriously enough? Because those teen romances can shape the people we become, even while the relationships themselves might be hard to manage or hard to sustain. A new book has been released to help girls navigate the often fraught terrain of teenage crushes and romance.
Now, the book is called Loveability, an empowered girl's guide to dating and relationships. Co-author and gender equality advocate Nina Funnell joins us now. Great to talk to you. Now, you teamed up with Danielle Miller to write this book. Why do we not take teenage love seriously enough, and why is it important for us to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It's really interesting that if you say to any adult, can you remember your first major heartbreak or the first time you were in love, almost all of us can recall that and actually have quite profound, memories and experiences. And yet for some reason we don't always take adolescent relationships seriously, maybe because the duration of those relationships, they might not always be that long. So we tend to dismiss it as mere puppy love or just a fleeting romance.
They're intense.
Oh, absolutely.
Like all-consuming.
Absolutely. And I mean, we know, the research shows that the early experiences that we have around love actually lay the foundation for the relationships that we're going to have in later life. So if we can have good relationships when we're early, and if we can support young people in developing those relationship skills so that they can have, positive, great experiences and have a lot of fun within their relationships, then we're more likely to set them up for better relationships down the track.
Well, given that, the teen romances are where you first encounter some of the big issues of love, things like consent, for example, how assertive to be, how cooperative you need to be, all those kind of big issues. Is this not taught in schools as part of, sex ed?
No, I mean, again, it's interesting that in sex ed we really tend to focus on reproduction. So the biology of how babies are made and, how to label the fallopian tube on the diagram or whatever it might be. We don't necessarily talk to teens much about things like navigating crushes or, what do you do when you find out that your friend is in a toxic relationship? Because, I mean, I know you'd know with your work with White Ribbon, Andrew, that 1 in 3 girls aged 12 to 20 has experienced some form of dating violence. And very often the person that they're most likely to disclose to is actually their best friend.
Sure.
So, and I remember as a teen girl myself, one of my closest friends was actually in a really controlling relationship, and I could see the signs, but I didn't actually have the language or the understanding of how to respond to that or how to help her out. So one of the things that we really wanted to do in our book was make it a really accessible guide for teen girls. And we cover all the fun, happy stuff, but being in love and having crushes and how do you know when somebody likes you, but also the serious stuff of what is consent and what do you do if somebody crosses a boundary.
And now this is specifically for females. Do you think there's a need for a book for guys as well?
Oh, well, that's planned too. I mean, absolutely. It's important that the conversations that we have with young people are not just one-sided, that we actually include all young people in these conversations. And so that when we're talking to them about relationship skills, it's actually we're skilling up all young people.
One of the things I find interesting about the book as well is that you look at the joys of being single, basically saying, look, you don't have to be in a relationship to be a fully fledged person,
Well, yeah, I mean, I spent my teen years as the eternal single Pringle. But you know what? It was actually really difficult at times because there is so much pressure on teen girls in particular to be in relationships and to feel like that they've got to be, that one half of, a bigger whole.
Unless you've got a boy, you're obviously not desirable. That kind of attitude,
And, particularly on Valentine's Day and on formals, there are particular, calendar moments where it's really, really tough being single. But what we wanted to explore was, well, why is that and why is there so much pressure, and right from when we're very, very young girls in fairy tales and so on, we get that message that, marriage is the ultimate goal for a woman, which of course,
it doesn't doesn't happen, no, absolutely. And
Well,
it doesn't happen for everyone, and that's fine, you know.
For sure. Well, I love the fact that, you know, one of the central messages of the book is that being yourself, knowing what you want and who you are is, you know, the essence of Loveability.
Yeah.
So, congratulations. It's a
At
great
any
read.
age.
Yeah, at any age.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And great for parents too, if they're unsure of how to navigate things. I assume that parents can read that and talk to their teenagers
Know
about
how
it.
to talk to them, yeah.
Yeah,
And, I mean,
great, Nina.
thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining.